This weekend, the All-Electric Racing Championship will be competing in the heart of the British capital. St Paul's Cathedral there, one of the London iconic landmarks. The city backdrop there sets the scene for the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. This weekend, we're heading into our second race of the London E-Prix, and it's the Royal Docks that will be the home of the Electric Racing Championship, an iconic backdrop setting the scene as the track winds along part of the River Thames and into the Excel Centre. Here we are, the drivers arriving this morning, the Mercedes EQ drivers, Lucas di Grassi, former Formula E champion for Audi, René Rast there, looking very happy as he's coming in. Pascal Wehrlein clearly had his coffee this morning, smiling from ear to ear. Oh, Andre Lotterer going for a bit of a fist pump there. Sam Bird, British racing driver, a home race for him and his team Jaguar Racing. Mitch Evans alongside him. It was a tough day for Sam Bird yesterday, but hopefully looking for redemption here today in his home city. Sam Bird, though, still at the top of the driver's standings, 81 points despite a DNF yesterday. Antonio Felix Costa just 1 point behind him, the reigning champion, of course. And Jake Dennis, yesterday's winner, on 79 points. Incredibly close there, just 4 points between the top 5 drivers. Mitch Evans, the other Jaguar Racing driver, 13th on the in the championship at the moment. And there we have Sebastian Buemi down in 20th. He won here in London, was actually the Season 2 champion. So it brings back great memories, but after a disqualification yesterday for the Nissan Edams team, again, he's going to be looking to make amends for that. Diaz Techeetah sitting at the top of the team's championship, just by 2 points ahead of Envision Virgin Racing. Jaguar Racing sitting in third, closely behind. But there we are, Neo 333 down at the bottom with just 18 points. So, my name is Nikki Shields. Alongside me is three-time Indy 500 champ, winner, Dario Franchitti. Talk us through the track.
Morning, Nikki. Here we are, indoors to start with through turns 1 and 2. The pinch point in 4 and 5, we saw that yesterday, steeply downhill on the west ramp. Track widens out of turn 9, big overtaking opportunity into 10. We saw a lot of moves happening there yesterday, incredibly tight hairpins, 10-11. Quick flick at the chicane, 12-13. Car gets a little bit airborne through 14. Heavy braking through 16, attack mode activation zone on the outside, back up the east ramp, back indoors, turns 22. That's a lap, 22 corners in 2.2 kilometers, and a most unusual circuit, but did put on a great race yesterday.
It did indeed. It was a track that we said no one could pass on, and it turns out there were plenty of overtakes. But what a beautiful view there. You can see the O2 in the backdrop there. And as you can see, the track there just sweeps around past the River Thames. I think you can just about see coming into view now. We've got the attack mode activation area down at the Heineken hairpin. But it really was a track that brought us plenty of action yesterday. No overtaking, we said, but what a different story it was.
No, absolutely. It was a good race. It was activation, the attack mode 2 times 8 minutes. That made quite a big difference to what was going on track as well. That extra 17.5% of energy, the drivers are really taking advantage of it, become a big tactical point. Here you go, this turn 21, that's turn 22. You can see all the different surface changes there. The surface indoors, it's almost like grip tape on a skateboard. You can see that the rubber's been laid down from yesterday's race. Much different feeling, even in the dry, than the surfaces outside. And then you have, if it's going to rain today, that's going to completely
well, that's what I was going to
things.
say. It's a very different situation from yesterday, isn't it? Because we've got no rain during the practice sessions. There's Sam Bird getting ready. Such a tough day for him yesterday. You know, being taken out of the race in the first lap. Not what you want when you're at the top of the standings.
No, the highs and lows. This was the high. Jake Dennis, imperious performance yesterday. As the pit lane's about to go green. There we go, everybody heads out, but Sam Bird was just an innocent bystander, as was his teammate, Mitch Evans. There was a bit of in turn 5, a bit of a pinch point. Alexander Sims in the second Mahindra got pushed out wide and then got pushed into the barrier, and everybody backed up behind, and literally cars from 10 cars back of the Jaguars pushed them into the cars in front, and there was nothing anybody could do at that point.
No, it was interesting, because obviously he sort of brought the car into the garage, and then the team, could they have made the car work? I mean, it felt like Sam was like, no, do you know what? I'm out of this race now. would there have been any point in trying to repair the car and just getting some lap time in to learn for today's race? Or at that point, do you just think, do you know what, I'm out, I give up?
You know, we saw the Jaguar team rebuild a whole new car between sessions in New York City, so they're as good as anybody in the pit lane, but it was a track rod that controls the steering, and that got bent, and I think there might have been some other suspension damage, and they looked as if we're going to be laps down by that point. If you can stay on the lead lap, as Mitch Evans did, then as of a safety car, it's a good possibility you can get some points. That just wasn't on the card, so rightly they just decided not to put the wear and tear on the car for no reason at all. You know, there was no points on offer, so they just parked the car.
Two Porsche drivers there did pretty well yesterday. Double points haul for both Pascal Wehrlein and Andre Lotterer. Andre Lotterer did well, actually, finishing in P4. Kind of a return to form that we've seen from him in the last couple of races, because, you know, up until the last 3 races, he's only had 1 point-scoring finish.
Yeah, and hear from Sam Bird.
Breaking into 16, check after the session.
So just Sam making a note, because he can't remember everything that happens during the session, so he's just said to his engineers, right, and that's probably for the first laps of the race too. He's thinking, brakes are cold, this is what happens. But yeah, Andre Lotterer did a great job yesterday at the 4th place finish after the disqualification of Buemi, but the Audis were behind him, and I thought they're going to come past, and they really didn't. So good race by Lotterer.
Now this is going to be a really critical session, isn't it, for Sam Bird, because we always talk about how qualifying is absolutely key here, and he just needs to get a really good run, particularly when he puts in that practice for that full power quali lap. Also, he's had a lot less running of this track than everybody else, you know, missing out on the 45 minutes plus 1 lap yesterday means he just probably doesn't have the same amount of experience here.
No, and you get into a rhythm with circuits, especially a bumpy street circuit, and you learn little tricks as the race goes along. And yes, Sam did miss out on that. So again, these laps this morning are going to be even more critical. The good news for him is that he's got an extra set of tyres. For a double-header weekend, you get 2 sets of tyres.
Yeah.
Everybody absolutely used up set 1 yesterday in the race. Sam's still got that set that he can use to keep his other set fresher for qualifying. But also, if it rains this afternoon, you really want the sharp edges of the tread as sharp as possible to cut through the rain, if there is any.
So he'll keep his old set from yesterday, because they'll be fine to use in this session. Oh, a little bit of traffic there. And then he'll just put a new set on for that quali lap and then into the race.
Well, they'd probably put a couple of, maybe a heat cycle on them before qualifying, but they won't be nearly as worn as the other people on the grid, and so that will be or the other people who finished the race yesterday, so that will be an advantage, I would say, for Sam. Bit of an odd one there with Robin Frans ahead of him in the Envision Virgin car. It looked like he was letting Sam through, and then he shut the door. There's James Barkley.
They're not racing yet.
No.
Calm down, boys. It's only 8 AM in the morning.
We just saw the Porsche of Andre Lotterer, and the back, actually it was Pascal Wehrlein's car, and the back brakes were glowing. You can see them glowing, which is unusual, because normally a lot of the braking on the rear is taken care of by the electric motor and the regeneration. So I wonder if it's just because there's no space in the battery yet to take the charge when it goes into regen. That's unusual to see that.
So the times are now coming in. Antonio Felix da Costa, quickest in the session so far, with a 1 minute 24.079. I mean, Antonio Felix da Costa had a great run yesterday. I think, you know, he started obviously back in P17, worked his way up to 9th in the grid to take some points home.
He got points. It was a big accomplishment, I think. And this is what we're going to see. We're going to see it today again, I think, Nikki. Obviously, depending on what happens with the weather, qualifying one is just so difficult to get near the front. So if you can score points out of Group 1, amazing. If you can score top 5 points, fantastic. If you can get on the podium, you know, just incredible. And if you can manage to win, then you've probably got a good chance at winning the championship in 3 races' time.
So Robin Frans there now at the top of the timings with a 1 minute 22.845.
That's rapid. I mean, the pole position yesterday, Alex Lynn, 23.2. So that is seriously fast. Cold conditions, lots of rubber on the circuit, and all that makes the track a bit faster. Just saw Jean-Eric Byrne. I think he was looking at the big screen to see where he was on the timing charts.
It's interesting, though, the times are still very much split at the moment. I mean, they haven't done their full quali lap yet, but, you know, yesterday when we were looking at the timings, I think it was, what, 1 second between the top 23 drivers? It was remarkable.
I'll give him a minute, just warming up. It's 39 minutes to go. It's early in the morning. You know, drivers hate mornings, or most of them do.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
Now, Jean-Eric Verne, I mean, again, what a driver. He came from 23rd on the grid, up 11 places to finish 12th, though. No points for him, and he really needs to be taking some...
for rear tyres. The end of the lap was a little bit harder on the second push. Lundqvist arriving in the straight.
So Jean-Eric Verne there, talking about his rear tyres, but he's 13 points behind Sandberg, so he is still in the championship title fight, but he really needs to be taking points home with him. The good thing is he's now dropped down into Group 2.
Yeah,
so there is a positive.
Yeah, exactly right. Stoffel van Dorn also in Group 2 today again. Yesterday, in secondary practice, crashed on the first lap, and that was really the end of his practice. So he did a fantastic job to actually score points yesterday with 7th place finish, and Buemi ahead of him, locking up into turn 10.
Yeah, it's amazing how the tables have turned again with Mercedes EQ. They had a really tough weekend in New York, a pointless weekend. And once again, they're back into the championship contention there.
Yeah, absolutely. Moved up to 4th in the teams championship, which is very important. The amount of money the teams and manufacturers spend to be in this championship, the technical development they get, they want to win that teams championship. There's 15 points between the top 6 teams at the moment. Bearing in mind there's still 144 points by my maths available in the teams championship.
Do we trust your maths?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. There's a reason I got a C in my O-level maths.
Did you?
I did, actually.
I actually loved maths.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm good at
mental
counting.
maths, actually. That was like my strongest subject at school. How sad is that?
Arithmetic was good, especially when you put a pound sign or a euro sign in front of it. It wasn't too bad, but it was the other stuff. And
so
yesterday's pole position winner, Alex Lynn, up 22.5 at the top of the standing. Sergio Setti camera, Peter.
Alex Lynn, I thought, was really interesting speaking to him. Oh no, he's just stayed on track.
He's just letting the traffic through. He's done his push lap, so he's just letting traffic through.
I thought really interesting after the race. He was pretty gracious. Here we are. Let's take a look at Jake Dennis, yesterday's race winner. Now, he was just phenomenal yesterday. I mean, I said it looked effortless. He said, well, actually, Nicky, no, it was very hard work. But he just had such a commanding drive.
Well, if it was hard, he did that sort of swan thing, didn't he? It was nice and relaxed above the surface,
Exactly.
and it was all going on below. But
Exactly.
his driving style is very smooth,
yeah.
and he was on the limit. He wasn't over the limit. He didn't push too hard in the wrong spots. Tactically, a very strong race. Obviously, the BMW Andretti car very strong balance-wise yesterday, and he took full advantage of it and just drove away from the field. And to win your home race, I think very special. Spoke to him after, and you could tell how much it meant to him.
And he's just gone quickest in Sector 2 with a 30.09 in Sector 2.
Yeah, nobody's actually really wound it up yet to qualifying 250 kilowatts qualifying power. So this is the lap times are pretty quick.
The pace of the car was phenomenal. I mean, you know, he finished that race well ahead of Mitch Evans.
Keep pushing, otherwise you can cool down if the tire's too hot.
Okay, let's go for a replay here.
Copy, so cool down target is 20 seconds slower.
It's all going on here, isn't it?
20 seconds slower for the cool down.
We've got radio from one car and slow-mo from another. So in this end, you can see the front right hit a bump, and that starts the lock-up. And Jean-Eric Verne just locked up because that's a pretty smooth surface. And look at him, he's trying to release the brake to stop the tyre flat spotting. The good news is the Michelin tyre is very hard wearing and very difficult to flat spot. Look at the rubber build-up on the treads of Norman Nato's tyres there.
We didn't see too much looking up in the course of the race though yesterday, did we?
No, quite unusual actually. We saw a couple. I think Alex Lynn got caught out with that bump when he was trying to chase down. It was Nick de Vries. He was trying to. No, it was Jake Dennis. He was trying to chase down actually, and yeah, he locked up at that very spot. But it is just a bump right at the point where you start applying the brakes. Right here, turn 15 and 16. Max Günther had a crash in qualifying, lost the rear, braking for turn 16 in qualifying yesterday. Did quite a bit of damage to the car. See Robin Freins through this long section. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, all corners linked together one after the other. It's a lovely rhythm section.
Now Robin Freins, despite you know, being at the top or towards the top of the championship, he's only actually been in Superpole twice before. And I think this is the key difference, isn't it, of where the champion is going to unfold, because if you're in Group 1, you need to get a good qualifying position. That's how Antonio Felix Costa won his championship last year. He managed to get into Superpole from Group 1. There's Lucas de Grassi. What was that little movement all about?
That was driver talk, and that was for the back end of the car is sliding round. When he turns in, the back keeps coming round and keeps snapping on him. His teammate's not got that problem. Rennie Rast, he's been quickest through Sector 1 and Sector 2, and he's on attack mode. He's on 225 kilowatts power.
I still think Rennie Rast, hasn't he impressed this season? I mean, phenomenal. Okay, he did a couple of races at the end of Berlin, managed to get on the podium, and has just had an absolutely flying season for what is really his rookie season.
Absolutely right. He got those 6 races in. He got top of the board of 21.4. Yeah, top of the. He got the 6 races in Berlin, and that really helped him kickstart this season. But a fabulous job by Rennie Rast.
Yeah, I mean, he's 9 points off Sam Bird, championship leader, who's done every single Formula E race since inception.
I mean, at this point,
your old buddy.
There's Mr. McNish. There's 16 cars within a maximum score today of the championship leader. So,
I love it, love it. It's great though, because, you know, for a driver, surely it just must sort of feed your enthusiasm and your determination, because for all of those drivers, there is still a possibility of winning the championship, whereas in most other series, it would probably be game over.
Yeah, but there's also a frustration level for the guys in Group 1 every week, and they're saying, you know, they complain about the qualifying format being unfair, the top 6 in the championship going out every weekend in the most unfavourable track conditions, but it's kept the championship close. I just wonder how many, what are the tactics going to be going into Berlin with those 2 races? You know, one. It sounds like there's going to be a reverse direction race in Berlin too, but what are the tactics going to be? It's a very unusual concrete surface there. Are drivers going to try and hold back, stay in Group 2, and then make a late push for the championship? I don't know. I'm sure there's some algorithm somewhere, and some of the engineers have figured something out. But I think if you get the chance to score some big points, you take it.
We're watching Joel Erickson at the moment. He's still looking for his first points over the course of this season. He joined the Dragon Racing team back in Puebla round 8. So he's done, what, 5 races so far? Finished, best result, finished P15.
And a good qualifying yesterday. Both Dragons qualified well yesterday, but just the race pace was not there yet. They've got the new Bosch powertrain, and they're still in the early stages of developing it. So yeah, a tough day for those guys.
One thing I do love about being in this indoor part of the track is how good the cars look. I think the lighting looks absolutely fab, particularly like there's Sebastian Buemi. He's won here on the streets of London when we're at Battersea Park. Previously, he was actually crowned champion, season 2 champion here, so it does bring back good memories. But unfortunately for him yesterday, despite what was going to be a 4th place finish, the team was disqualified for overuse of energy.
Yeah,
what a shame. What a shame.
It really was. What happened was that the organisers reduced the energy available from 52 kilowatt hours to 48, and with all the different programs going in the car, there was a mistake made, because normally the drivers approach the finish line, and as the energy cuts to 0, the car cuts out and coasts across the finish line. They cut it that close. It wasn't done properly in either Nissan, and so it went over. Just a complete, you know, oversight, not, you know, in any way looking for an advantage, and pretty tough for Buemi, for the Nissan E-Dams team. You've got to feel for them and Oliver Rowland.
Oh, you really do, particularly as Buemi had put in such a good effort yesterday with both his qualifying and the race results. But I was actually speaking to Oliver Rowland on the walk-in this morning, and he said, look, do you know what? Sometimes penalties do seem really unfair, but actually in this particular instance, the rules are the rules, and we got it wrong, and it is our own fault, and we have to hold our hands up, and we've got to pay the price for that penalty. They're not going to be doing that today, though. There's Rennie Rast looking at his screen. So what's he actually looking at the moment, Dario?
Probably German news channel.
Checking himself out.
Yeah, exactly. He's got timing, the sectors. He's got data. Basically comes in the form of a graph, and it shows a speed trace in the different corners. And it's one of the things, you know, you learn to read that as a kid, and it shows you where you're fast and slow. On board with Alex Lynn through turn 1 and 2. The Mahindra very fast over 1 lap, still not great on long-term race pace, but they're getting better every race. You see the surface change there, Nicky, down, another surface change, down steeply down the hill to turn 6. Quick flick, 6, 7, 8, back to the throttle, back over to the left because you're trying to open up turn 9 as much as possible. Big bump there, oh, an oversteer again. And that's what we saw yesterday from the Mahindra towards the end of the race. The back of the car really was sliding around. I need to get that under control. Heavy on the brakes, maximum lock through 10. Same in 11. Get the car straight, back to throttle. Look how quick and how close they get to the wall through 12, 13 chicane. And listen for it, it's going to bottom out.
Oh,
and then the wheels.
does that hurt?
Yeah, a little bit. And then again on the braking, tack mode activation zone out on your left-hand side. Key tactical part of the circuit today. And watch how 17, 18, 19, 20 all lead into each other. Mistake made here, you're going to pay for it. 20. Jump the curb. 19. Back to throttle. And watch different surface changes as you go indoors. It's difficult enough to judge that when it's dry inside and outside. Wait till it starts raining outside. It's really going to get tricky. Back to the throttle out of 22. And a 23.2 for Alex Lynn. That was race pace, race preparation.
Lovely little lap there, and great to see the graphic where you can, tell when they're regenning and putting energy back into the battery. I wonder what they're going to do with attack mode today. I mean, they obviously tell the drivers and the teams an hour before the race gets underway. I would assume that they would do the same thing, which was or 2 times 8 minutes long into attack mode, which is when you get the extra 35 kilojoules of energy and it's an increase of 17.5%. Right, here's a replay of Norman Nato.
Watch his eyes. It's Oliver Rowland.
Oh, it's Oliver Rowland, sorry.
Watch the eyes with the clear visors. It's one of the great things. You can really see the reflection.
I'm gonna need my glasses.
There's brake discs glowing. They're not glowing too much. There's Jake Dennis had a clear visor on yesterday, great, and you can watch his eyes as he comes to turn 10. He looks left, looking for a braking marker.
Oh, there's that lock-up from Jean-Eric Verne.
Look at the suspension working as it goes over the small bumps. You can see the wheel inside the wheel arch moving. Edo Mortara, Venturi.
I mean, he did a great job in qualifying yesterday, top of his in Group 1, but I mean, he was the last to go out, I think, so I suppose you've got that advantage on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's still in Group 1, 6th in the championship, definitely in contention. He's had a great season. He really has. His job in Mexico City was so impressive.
It's always frustrating, isn't it? He's actually joint on points with René Rast, but because due on countback, René Rast is down in Group 2, so he's got the advantage.
Yeah, that could come back to haunt them, and the championship is so close.
Do you think, though, we're going to see as much track evolution today because it is dry? Fingers crossed it will stay dry.
Nick, it's London.
Yeah,
come on.
And it looks a bit grey, I've got to say. But fingers crossed it will stay dry for qualifying at least. We don't mind a bit of rain in the race. There's Susie Wolf, team principal at Rocket Venturi. Right, so here is Nick de Vries. Coming in, he's just gone purple in Sector 1.
I think Nick de Vries got held up a little bit yesterday, but maybe some of the slower cars that qualified up front. Not for that, he might, I mean, this is all speculation, but might have given Jake Dennis a slightly harder time. The pace of the Mercedes EQ car was great yesterday, so yeah, he'll be looking for more of the same today. Fortunately for him, he's in Group 1, so as he goes 5th quickest, they're still 8/10 away from Robin Freins.
So when's the best time to put your practice quali lap in?
Probably close to the end of the session, because the track is at its closest to qualifying time, really. You see Alex Lynn looks like he's doing some stuff on the steering wheel, certainly talking to his engineer as well.
This is the beauty about Formula, isn't it? There's so much going on. What was that?
He's cooling himself down as well. He's got a fan in there.
Very important. In fact, all the drivers came out of the car yesterday. They were sort of kind of a beetroot. They were so red. I think it was really quite warm for them in there.
Yep, absolutely right. I think it, yeah, pretty toasty, pretty humid.
Alexander Sims also looking for a nice clean day today. He got caught up in that sort of melee at the start of the race, and unfortunately damage to his car caused him to retire. He cracked me up there. He said, "Oh, the last time I was here was for the London Design Museum, London Design Exhibition."
Yeah, rear tyres, can't do it. Okay, so good. Box.
I think he's tried to do 2 push laps there possibly, or use the old tyres from yesterday, and it's just not there at the moment. But yeah, Alexander got pushed offline in 4, got to the outside, and then there was a freight train on the inside. He got pushed wide, and then eventually got pushed into the barrier in turn 5, and that involved the Jaguars as well, being pushed from people further behind as well, because everybody's unsighted, Nicky, at that point. And when somebody at the front slows down, they'll tend to pile into the back, and that's exactly what we saw.
I love this part of the track, sort of, what are it, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. But how important, as you say, is that you've got to get the momentum coming into it, otherwise it kind of messes up the whole sector.
Yeah, if you're slightly off line in 17, it really messes you up already in 20. So you watch the back of the car slide round. There we go. Yeah, and that's just, there's not enough rear grip. And you'll see it again here. Yeah, there we go. And there's just no traction at that point. Look at it, just rotates, keeps rotating, watches hands, correcting. That's not what you want. You want it to rotate through the middle of the corner. You want the front to turn, then you want the back to settle down so you can get on the throttle. And they got one part of it right.
And how difficult is it? Because obviously these Formula E cars, they've been built for street racing, but some of the tracks are just that bit more technical, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, the cars are totally in their element in these type of tracks. They've absolutely been built, you know, Generation 2 car, a lot of lessons learned from the Gen 1 car, and the teams with the powertrains as well. That's where they really, I think, that's the bit that we don't know so much about, because the teams play their cards very close to their chest, but that's the really clever part of a Formula E car, because essentially they're all the same bodywork-wise, chassis-wise. It's all the powertrain is a clever bit.
Nick Cassidy here has done an absolutely phenomenal job for Envision, you know, getting some valuable points. I think he's had, oh, that's a nice little replay there.
Yeah, turn 17. Now, Cassidy sits really oddly in the car. He's almost head's very reclined back, and at times he actually pushes his head back. He almost looks at the sky. It's something I noticed, I think it was New York.
Who's up there giving him tips?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right, let's go and watch a lap with Sergio Sette Camera. Gone quickest in Sector 1. He actually did a great job in qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, he did, absolutely.
But just the race pace, this is the problem. It's all very well having that single lap pace during qualifying, but the race pace just doesn't seem to be there for the Dragon Penske Autosport team.
Yeah, not
Dropped
yet.
down to 13.
Not yet, Nicky, but at least the one lap pace is the first part of it. He goes top of the timing sheet, 20.81. Wow, then locks up into one and goes off. Whew, he almost hit the barrier. Yeah, I just tried to stop, and
Brilliant.
she wasn't for stopping. Yeah, absolutely.
1 minute 20.8.
But he's, as I say, one lap pace is the first thing. Then you can work on the efficiencies of the car.
Yeah, but we're at round 13.
I know, but remember they were late with the new powertrain, weren't they? And there's one of the smaller teams in the championship. Let's see if he locks up. He's finished his lap and then almost crashes. That wouldn't have gone down well. Andre Lotterer moves up to 8th place as well, 121.7. It's quite spread out at the moment, but it's definitely going to close up as the session goes on.
So Tom Blomqvist there.
God,
another tough day for him. Yeah, another DNF.
Home race as well for both the drivers in the Neo team. Yeah, they're just the pace isn't there. And again, you talk about how small the team is. They're with the budget they've got, the amount of people they have, they're doing their best. They're just, but you know, if you want to go, the faster you want to go, the more money you got to spend pretty much in racing, and they haven't got as much as the others, I would say, at this point.
It must be so difficult knowing, though, that there isn't going to be much more progress with the car and the performance, because it does come down to a budget issue rather than, you know, they just haven't found what the answer is.
I think in that situation, all you can do is maximise what you have. And if you do that, there's a certain pride in that. There's obviously a massive frustration when you're used to winning, and all these drivers are used to winning. That's how they've got here. That's why the teams want to hire them. The Porsche gets out of the way eventually.
But would you be happy with just a couple of points?
God, no. No. But again, that's the situation they find themselves in right now. So that all they can do is maximise and continually try and improve, and that's where the team has to be strong. And I think when you've got guys like Oliver Turvey in the team, Oliver's very experienced, and he was trying to guide them and direct them and what they need to do to go forward.
Right, let's take a look at the replay of Tom Blomqvist there.
I'm not sure he got held up by the Porsche.
And there's Christian Silk, team principal at Neo 333, studying the data. studying the analytics.
Data, data, data. That's what racing's about. And Joel Erickson, there was a yellow at turn 1. I think we're about to find out. Locked up the inside front. It's very difficult to see when the front's locked from that straight ahead view because of the guards over the wheel. Good recovery though. And again, just watch the bumps, watch the left front just over the small undulations. That was a
Nice
good
little
recovery.
donut.
Yeah. Good J-turn there.
Demonstration for the crowd. He'll be here later.
There's a lot to be said actually in practice if you do have a problem like that. Is figuring out where the exit routes are. If the track's blocked, where do you go? If you make a mistake, how do you recover in the quickest possible fashion?
So having looked yesterday though, turn 1 looks like great overtaking opportunities there in the course of the race.
I think it is when you've got an advantage when you're in attack mode, for instance, and the others aren't, but it's with that high grip surface, it's such a relatively quick corner now that you turn in earlier and you brake less. So it's not as much as we thought it would be. Turn 10 has definitely been the big one, and I think if it is damp out there today, turn 16 will be too.
Right, now we're going to do a lap with Oliver Rowland, who again was one of the Nissans who was disqualified yesterday. He managed to make it up to P10, had he not been disqualified.
And he's, he went straight off in turn 1, so they right away at the start of his lap, the lap's essentially, he's not going to do a lap time, but you can still learn things from this lap. And the Porsche was running up behind him due to that mistake in turn 1. But yeah, you can still learn through the other sectors of the lap. It was over a second down. Oliver Rowland. Did we learn how Sebastian Buemi managed to be 4/10 up, I think it was, in sector 3 yesterday? He took a shortcut. Damn it, it was impressive, wasn't it? It was mighty. Phenomenal. No one came close. Again, that's where that rhythm comes in. You just some parts of track, you get into that rhythm of the street circuit and you keep repeating the same thing lap after lap. Whoa, the rear of the Nissan dancing around as Oliver Rowland tries to brake for turn 16. Snapping rear, his quickest segment of the session, should I say, in sector 2. Listen to the wheels chirping as he gets to the throttle, but he's a second and a half away, which is what he lost in the first sector.
Always elbows out, Oliver Rowland. I love it.
Oh, I had some great racing yesterday, didn't
drive.
he? Yeah. This was a mistake at the start of the lap, you just see it already, because of turning and braking.
What a shame.
Yeah, and because of the grip level, they're turning and braking at the same time there. And you need a different brake balance, front to rear, to allow you to do that. And watch the rear snap round. Whoa. He actually hit the front, and the front started bouncing, and that was what caused the reaction to the rear of the car. So will he go straight back into the garage and make some sort of minor tweaks to the setup of the car for the last 15 minutes, or just leave it as is? Depends what the run plan is. If they're going to do some race running now after a push lap, if not, there's certainly he's going to adjust that car, definitely. Whether he needs to go back to the pits to do that or not, we'll soon find out. Jean-Eric Byrne in attack mode. Again, I just love the halo. I feel like the halo really stands out and lights up at this particular track. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Low light levels in and outdoors. Exactly. London, the weather was phenomenal. And then, of course, we show up and everybody goes, typical British weather. But it's not. It's been lovely. It's been a heat wave. Honestly, anyone listening, we had a heat wave. We did. You were watching. Vern's on a heat wave. This is a good lap from Jean-Eric Byrne. Let's see where it puts him in P3. Not quite a 10th off. Sergio Setticam, that's closing up. But we thought we might see a sort of difference with the indoor and outdoor temperature yesterday, but it didn't really have any influence, did it? No, it did not. Much different grip level. This surface here, for instance, is old. Looks like a car park compared to the high grip polymer surface in indoors. So the drivers and the engineers have to adapt the car and their driving style to that. Was that an intentional hit of the curb? Absolutely. Yeah, he's trying to open up the angle into turn 20, but he got some traffic there, one of the Neos, that would have cost Lucas Di Grassi some time. Lucas Di Grassi, more damage to the noses yesterday in the Audi. P7, 4/10 back. I think that traffic might have cost him some time. And in terms of sort of the track surface changes, would you say, again, because 25% of this track is indoor and it's been laid down, especially for Formula E, they've used this sort of resin that seems to work really well, plenty of grip. Is there less track surface changes to the traditional street circuits we're used to? No, I think probably a bit more actually, because you've got that new surface, you've got the metal grates actually with the doors of the XL closed, then you've got the undercover surface, which is a different type of tarmac, then you've got the surface on the down ramp, which is a different one again, then the streets of London, and they're all patched. And so you've got to deal with that. And the zebra crossing,
a few issues yesterday.
You see all these white lines. If it rains today, those will be like ice. And that's a bit of a problem when you start braking for turn 16 and you get into the car park area where there's white lines everywhere, and then you've got zebra crossings, etc., etc. So that's all got to be taken into account this afternoon. Look at that.
Big race weekend for Jaguar. Home race, first home race in Formula E, because of course they joined after we had the Battersea Park races in season 1 and season 2. Sam Bird and Mitch Evans, first time they've partnered. Of course, Mitch Evans joined Jaguar Racing in season 3. But Sam Bird, he was with Envision Virgin Racing for the first 6 seasons of his career in Formula E, and then made a jump to Jaguar this season. And, well, the fact that he's leading the standings at the moment, I think, shows that it's paid off.
Mitch Evans in Group 3 today. He was in Group 1, it seemed, for about 2 seasons, and now he's in Group 3. That should give him a good chance in qualifying to get right up the front of the grid today and get back in the championship fight.
I think yesterday was his second time not in Group 1.
Yeah, but
so
he's gone straight to Group 3 now.
it's amazing how quickly you drop down, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think he's looking forward to Alex Lynn just stopping to not hold the other guys up. Is he going to? No, he's coming in the pits. Yeah, so Mitch is looking for big things today, and as you say, big weekend for Jaguar. Lots of people in Jaguar team kit, big bosses here.
Yeah, the VIP guests
I think
are
I ran out
arriving.
of power halfway through the lap or something.
Okay.
Furiously looks at computer.
Yeah, that's not what you want your driver to be telling you, is it?
No, you don't want your engineer to say, okay.
There's a definite scratch of the head there.
You want answers from your engineer. Yeah. That's the thing, you don't want that sort of, okay. It's like,
panic not.
Yeah.
We'll get on it, don't worry.
Even if they're lying to you. My strategists and engineers used to lie to me all the time. Oh yeah, you're quicker than that guy.
Could you tell when they were lying?
Oh, no. Okay. No. And only recently, since I stepped out of the cockpit and I watched them, I said, you used to lie to me. Absolutely.
It's all a mind game,
Absolutely.
which it is half this battle, isn't it? Mind over matter.
More than half.
You've got to be in the right sort of have the right mental approach for this racing, that's for sure. And there really is, there's so much, isn't there, going on in the cockpit with the steering wheel. There's so much that the drivers have to do. It's not just about pure racing performance.
But just think about the pure racing performance. Think about the amount of decisions a driver has to make every lap, with the steering wheel, with the brake pedal, with the throttle, with how hard they lean on it. Every time they're moving the wheel, there's a decision to be made. And if it's flowing well, mentally everything's going well, you get in a good rhythm. If you're second guessing yourself because you're having a tough season, then that's really difficult to fix, I would say.
It's all about multitasking. Not sure you do so well in Formula E then.
No, that might be tough. Might be tough.
Have you driven the Gen 2 car? I know you drove the Gen 1 car.
No, not as yet. We were trying to, but then they had to be a team car, and they had to let me drive it on a Friday, and they were thinking, if this guy wads this thing up and crashes it, we're in trouble. So at some point, I'd love to drive the Gen 2 car. Such a big step from the Generation 1 car.
Right, so on board now with Nick de Vries. Pushing at the moment.
There's such an abrupt change as you come off the ramp onto the flat surface under the west entrance to the XL.
And you know, you mentioned about having the right visor, so that obviously going indoor and outdoor, so the lighting is dramatically changing. Did you have any feedback from the drivers? Did they have any visibility issues?
No, visibility was fine, but each driver is a bit different. Some are a bit more sensitive to light, some like it very sort of calm and relaxed in there, so you would use a darker visor. So it's very much preference driven. I think they should also wear clear visors so we can see their eyes and again watch where their eyes are going and watch where they're following. As you see Nick de Vries heavy
so we just went past in sector 1.
Oh, okay, so we're looking good. But he's a 10th off already. That's going to put P3. So it's a bit of work to do. Watch how he jumps the curb to open up 20. That's what they're doing. They're trying to open up, get to the throttle as early as they can to go up the steep east ramp into the XL Arena. This is the last corner. This is quite a frustrating corner because it's longer than you would think. And P3, yep, Nick de Vries. And you can see a lot of the information that's pixelated on the dash that drivers are having to, especially during the race, read all that information.
Right, here's a replay of Nick de Vries. Something getting very close to the wall there. Ooh.
Oh, he almost rotated the car around the wall. That was fantastic.
That's the risk and return that you want to be taking.
Watch the right front as it hits the bumps into turn 10, and that's what's caught a lot of people out, that as it starts to go light and the tyre loses contact with the tarmac. And you see the carbon brakes glowing on the front of the car.
Ian James there, as focused as ever on his mobile phone.
Talk about focused, look at the eyes. You were talking about the mental aspect earlier. There's so much going on in the driver's head. A lot of time when you're sitting, you're not seeing anything. You're not seeing people. You're not seeing TV cameras. You're just thinking in your head about what's going on, and everything about you disappears.
And obviously, normally after a race, you know, you get back into the garage, you do loads of data analytics, you have a proper debrief, whereas Sam Bird wasn't in the race. He only did half a lap yesterday. So what was his preparation before today?
Oh, when I saw him, he was having dinner. They would have analysed the race from others' point of view, I would say. They would have talked about what they saw on circuit, who did what, why was that, and they would try and make some decisions based on that.
Okay, so Andre Lotterer now. You can see that halo is glowing purple. That means he's on his full power quali lap, 250 kilowatts. Let's see what he can do with it. So it's a personal best in Sector 1. But not quite as good as Sergio Sette Camara.
Well, give him a minute. He's only through the first sector, Ricky. But look at how nicely the Porsche's handling compared to when we saw Sims the Mahindra earlier with losing the rear. Porsche looking very good through that quick chicane. He's a little bit quick into the chicane, so he couldn't get the car properly positioned for the second half and get back to the throttle as early as he needed to. Dancing on the brakes for 16. Quickest of anybody through Sector 2. He was a 10th up on anybody.
Well, he was quickest in the group qualifying yesterday, securing a point. Started on the grid in P5.
Bit of traffic ahead at the top of the ramp.
I love that ramp. How does that feel? If do you lose your stomach doing that ramp, or is it not quite steep enough?
At the very first couple of times you do, I would imagine you would, as you hit the compression at the bottom. There we go. Wow, big. 20.4, 3/10 up the road at the moment from anybody.
Very nice indeed.
Accomplished
well done,
lap, yeah. He'll be happy with that. No, he'll probably be complaining, oh, I lost a bit here, I did this wrong. That's what you got to do. You always look for the negative, how to improve. So Emil Lindsay looking fierce.
I wonder if he's got over that big penalty when Pascal Wehrlein was due a win.
Probably not. That was harsh. Completely undeserved too, but anyway.
Both Neos here, Oliver Turvey and Tom Blomqvist. Two British racing drivers, both looking to score their first points at the London E-Prix.
And they're definitely in race running right now, just again trying to learn anything they can, how to set do everything with the powertrain, with the diff, all that sort of stuff, the differential, how the rear wheels interact with each other.
Right, now this is going to be interesting. Sergio Sette Camara, he is in his full energy quali mode, full power, thank you.
Oh, big lock up into 10 though. Yeah, Sergio Sette Camara is one of those drivers, when you know he's on a qualifying lap, you stand back from the barrier just a little bit. And that is a compliment. He leaves nothing on the table.
It's brilliant to watch.
Yeah, what was it he said?
But right on the edge.
Bin it or win it.
Right on the edge,
yeah.
Exactly. Which, as a team principal, must be quite nerve-wracking to watch.
Especially when you're paying the bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's at the same time, you know that there's nothing left on the table. You know that he's giving absolutely everything. He's been a great addition to Formula E.
Yeah, he has been. And a great character as well.
You don't win races in Formula 2 by being an average driver. And that's exactly Sette Camara done that. Let's see where it puts him. He closed up a bit, P2, but 10th and a half back. Bit of work to do. There's the lock up in 10 again, those bumps setting it off, but he's still turning in. You know, he's not losing the front. He hasn't. It's when this outside wheel gets locked as well, then you're in trouble. Bit of understeer though on the way in. Oliver Rowland. Oh, he's on full power lap. Oh, quickest of anybody in Sector 2. Oliver's on a strong lap. Yeah, nice and neat through 17 though. Slightly different technique there. He tried to carry a bit more speed through 19. We can actually hear him at the back of the commentary booth.
That's what's nice, isn't it? We've got a commentary booth right down by race control.
Oh, that's nice. 10th and a half up, Oliver Rowland, P1. So I think we're still seeing some track evolution.
That there.
We see Francois Sicard. Look, you wouldn't want to play poker with Francois, would you? Very.
Never quite know what he's thinking.
No. I think I knew what he was thinking yesterday after the race, the poor guy.
So hard for the team, isn't it, when you work so hard?
Exactly right.
Put in so much effort and then a small, well, smallish issue.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody absolutely pushing as hard as they can. Edo Mortara. Qualifying simulation lap here. Let's watch through turn 15 and see how... Whoa, a bit of a movement again as he breaks for 15. Just he missed the apex though, but good coming off. He looks a bit slow through the entry and apex phase of that corner, but managed to get the car positioned very well to come off the corner.
Edo Mortara will be starting qualifying in Group 1, so he really needs to put in a good lap time.
Yeah,
to be able to get well, anything above a sort of mid-table start is going to be hard, isn't it?
A lot of drivers out there right now on in qualifying, the qualifying power setting, 250 kilowatts.
So 4/10 off Oliver Rowland's time there, Edo Mortara. So Oliver Rowland putting in a really good lap.
Yeah, remember that is his rookie season. He was a qualifying machine in the Nissan. He put some incredible qualifying performances in. The old master, Lucas Di Grassi.
King of consistency.
Yeah, he just gets through the field so well, Lucas. And I've been watching a more and more intimidating driver. He just gives them a little nudge as he gets to them. Alan McNish cringes because it means he has to buy another nose for the front of the car. And then he makes the move. But he's absolutely perfected the passing in Formula E. Let's see if he's perfected qualifying. It's not a bad lap so far from Lucas Di Grassi.
Right, let's have a look, see where he cuts. Overall best in sector 2.
P1, Lucas Di Grassi, 21 minute 20 flat.
Very nice. Ooh, that was a phenomenal lap.
Somebody was asking yesterday, why is the dash pixelated? Well, there's lots of proprietary information on there that we...
quickly, might just be able to see it.
Yeah, that the teams don't want you having, so that, or they certainly don't want the other teams having, so that's why it's pixelated.
Over 3/10 quicker than Oliver Rowland. Wow. Because Lucas Di Grassi is more of he's consistent in the race. It's not really so good in qualifying,
I'm laughing here because he gets really mad at me when I say that.
Oh no. Hopefully he's not
How
listening.
was that for a qualifying performance, he always says when he has a good one. I just say what I see.
Well, Lucas Di Grassi, I hate to say, you've only been in Super Bowl once this season, so I think that says it all.
Yeah, I tell you what though, he's one of the more complete Formula E drivers, obviously past champion, but he's pretty impressive. Be interesting to see what he does next year, because obviously Audi leaving the championship. Jean-Eric Byrne coming to the last corner. We've got a yellow at turn 10 into the hairpin. Jean-Eric 7th quickest. Great lap.
Not so good, 6/10 down.
Track is clear at turn 10. Oh, bit of traffic for Nick de Vries, and that's the corner over there. Yeah, you can see just lock the fronts, just searching for the limit. You better searching for it now then in your qualifying lap. Again, just watch how much curb he takes here. Oh, he missed it completely. That slowed him down a little bit through 20. This is turn 21.
Fourth quickest. 3/10 down on Lucas Di Grassi.
We're on board with Mitch Evans now as it comes up the east ramp. See what Mitch can do. Again, Group 3 for qualifying today, so expecting big things from Mitch in qualifying. Not put any pressure on her or anything.
He's been on a bit of a tough run, old Mitch Evans. No points in the last 3 races for him.
Sam Bird, his teammate behind him. Jake Dennis, yesterday's winner, just jumped up to 2nd quickest. And 6 seconds to go. It's all kicking off. Watch for the checkered flag. Checkered flag is out. End of the session. But those on a lap will get to finish it.
So not too dissimilar from what we saw in FP yesterday. 19 drivers within a second of each other.
pretty close, and I think some didn't actually do a qualifying simulation.
Now why would that be?
Trying to keep the tyres fresh, possibly. Nick De Vries is when he missed. Go, he locked up from miles back. Again, just trying to find the limit. So yeah, here we watch the inside front. He hit the bump right at the apex of 15, and it just kept locking. They'll know not to do that again. Or if it was me, I'd tell the engineer to fix the brake balance at that point.
Always pointing the finger at somebody else.
Clearly it couldn't be the driver making a mistake.
Well, of course not. You learn that one very quickly, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So there we have it. Checkered flag is out. So I believe they will do their practice starts.
Yeah, so you see a lot of the guys just cruising around those last couple of laps. You're thinking, what are they doing? They're trying to bring the temperature of the tyres down to give them a more realistic practice start. Because obviously at the start of the race, tyres are completely stone cold, so they're just trying to cool everything down to do a nice realistic start. And with this heavy grip surface that we've got indoors, it's a much different start setup on the motor.
So there is Lucas de Grassi walking back to his garage. In fact, maybe he's going to get weighed.
Yeah.
As they have to do after each session.
Yeah, and then
make sure he hasn't eaten too many cakes and put on too many pounds.
It's savage, engineer. Have you put on any weight?
I dread that moment.
It's harsh, and they are harsh.
Did you have to go on a strict diet, Dario?
I was very careful what I ate, put it that way.
Because you're like me, we both have quite a sweet tooth. We do like our chocolate.
Yes.
I can't imagine that's good for racing drivers. Oh, I know. He's just showed me a little dairy milk caramel bar. Half-eaten one.
That was breakfast. I mean, sorry, that was fruit yesterday. Here we go. We see the Neo 333 lining up, pole position.
Now, I thought you were supposed to line up where you think you're going to start.
Looking ahead.
Or is it more...
And see Alexander Sims going to the inside, and there's the Dragon Penske guys. Nicola Magui over to our left. City Camera P8 during that session, not too bad at all.
And I'm reliably told that you actually have to go as far ahead to do your
you have to pull
start
up. Yeah,
for safety reasons.
Exactly right. Karun told you that.
He did. Thanks, Karun.
There's Alexander Sims. So not only are you practicing your start here, but you can also practice your braking zone to turn one if you're starting at the front. Obviously, if you're starting at the back, you've got to react to the cars in front.
There's quite a lot more rubber on the track than we saw yesterday.
At the end of the race. Are you talking about the rubber or the actual the marbles?
The marbles.
Yeah. I think they swept it last night.
So that's just from this session.
Yeah. Or they didn't do a very good sweeping job sweeping it. Robert Frines, he does not look happy.
Oh, well, after yesterday's non-point scoring finish. But he's still very much in the contention for the championship, 3 points behind Sam Bird.
Yes, he is.
There we are, the man of the moment, British racing driver Sam Bird. Hopefully feeling a little bit happier about that session than after yesterday's race. Right, let's take a look at who was quickest in FP3. Lucas de Grassi there with a phenomenal lap, a 1 minute 20.001. 2/10 behind him. Yesterday's winner, Jake Dennis, 3/10 off the pace, Oliver Rowland. Fourth, Nick De Vries. Fifth, Sam Bird, our championship leader. And down there in 12th is Jean-Eric Verne. Antonio Felix da Costa, 7/10 off that lap from Lucas de Grassi. Edo Mortar in 14th, Robin Frines in 15th. Joel Erickson still looking for his first points down in 20th. And Sebastian Buemi, the Season 2 champ, who won here on the streets of London back in Season 2, down in 23rd. He's going to be looking for some more pace in qualifying. What a beautiful view there. Wow, absolutely spectacular. A reminder, look at all those red buses. In fact, did you see there's a red bus here at the Emotion Club?
London. Mitch Evans. He's heading up to get weighed now, the moment of truth. I know what he had for dinner last night, and he's definitely put some
What
weight
was it?
on.
Curry?
Yes.
Did you?
It was.
That was a good guess. Yeah, oh, Mitch Evans. I mean, so close to that. Do you remember that 1-2 finish that we almost saw from him in New York with Sam Bird? But had to, well, he didn't retire from the race, but he finished out of the points. And I think he's just trying to claw back what he lost out on, really. Must be really difficult as well. You know, he's always been top dog in his team.
Well, you want a strong teammate. As long as it's positive pressure that each teammate puts on the other, you want a strong teammate. And he's had some strong teammates in the past, but never consistently for whole seasons.
So Tom Blomqvist there. Do you think he's putting his helmet on one of those little fans that we saw yesterday?
Absolutely. Look, there you go. Drying it out because it's full of sweat. It's not a very nice thing to put on a helmet that's all sweat.
I mean, I'm not even just going to ask that question, but they must get quite stinky.
Nah, you just replaced them by that point. When you're later in your career, shall we say.
Right, there we are. Sam Bird giving a bit of feedback to his race engineer. So this was this morning, a little bit earlier, and a reminder of how to vote for the Fan Boost. You can vote online at FIAFormulary.com. At the moment, we've got Alex Lynn. Oh, that's brilliant to see the British racing driver for Mahindra on 62%. Wow, Da Costa, Van Dorn, De Vries and Bird, all with about between, what, 8% and 5%. But do get your votes in, because actually it did make a bit of a difference. Yesterday we saw Mitch Evans use his fan boost on Alex Lynn to take second.
Yeah, Nick De Vries was definitely using it as well.
Okay, so here is how FP3 played out this morning. Nissan drivers and Vision Virgin Racing drivers took to the track. Sam Bird there. Ooh, big lock up from one of the Mahindra drivers, Alexander Sims. And then Alex Lynn, who was on the podium yesterday, but definitely trying to put in the performance today.
Yeah, I love I love that shot of the behind the rear wheel, Nicky. You see that shot of the car locking up. Sims again. This was when we saw the rear tyres were just not there, and Alexander Sims confirmed as much and needed to go back in and change the tyres.
Oh, there was that moment from Sir Erickson, Joel Erickson there.
Yeah, Sebastian.
Nice little pirouette.
Yeah, again, good recovery, like I said. Now we see Sebastian Buemi keeping it between the walls. Nick De Vries, that was so close to the wall with Nick De Vries. Again, pushing hard.
On the limits.
Yeah,
on the limits.
Yeah, P4. Oliver Rowland.
Speaking of on the limits, Oliver Rowland always there as
love
well.
That shot. I even took a shot of that myself on my camera the other day.
Very nice.
Yeah. Lucas Di Grassi, quickest of all though. Ready for qualifying now.
Wow, what a lap from Lucas Di Grassi, our Season 3 champion. Okay, so that was FP3. It's Lucas Di Grassi who was quickest in session, but Jake Dennis really is the man to beat. We saw that incredible performance from him yesterday. The Jaguar Racing drivers there having a bit of a discussion about what they've learned over the course of this morning's session, the 45 minutes on track. And Andre Lotterer, who put in a great performance yesterday. Can he do it again? Oh, what a beautiful view there. The Houses of Parliament. Wow, I think the sun's coming out, Dario.